Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the Castro Files. How are you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
Doing well. I'm doing good. Thank you so much.
It's cold again.
It's cold again in Texas, but it's supposed to be warming up, so
Yeah.
we will let that slide by. But thank you again so much for joining us on the Castro Files tonight. I've got a creepy cannibal killer story who is still actually out in public.
It's weird.
And he's allowed to be, which is very interesting. But before we get into that, go out to the Castro Files. Check us out on Instagram for all the photos that we'll post out there. If you're listening to the audio versions, out on iTunes and Spotify and everywhere else you can find a podcast. Plus, you can check us out, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you don't mind. That helps us out, of course.
Yes.
Share the show.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, go out, check out our swag stuff. We've got shirts, got tumblers, we've got wine tumblers, we've got all sorts of cool things. Hats. The shirts are really cool. They got little aliens on them.
Yeah.
Please do go out, check them out, and you'll see a link out here. Pretty short. And we'll put it in the notes as well.
There you go.
All right, you ready to jump into the cannibal?
Let's do this.
All right. So this guy. All right. I don't know how I stumbled on this. It's usually how it happens, right? You just stumble onto
A story.
Right.
Right.
And then you end up going down a rabbit hole.
Yes.
And then I end up with the cannibal killer, Issei Sagawa.
Okay.
This is a guy in Japan. I'm probably not
Just
saying
going to say
this
his
right.
first name from now on. You got that down pretty good.
Issei. We're going to
Issei.
say it that way.
Yeah.
So in 1991, Japanese murderer Issei Sagawa, the Kobe Cannibal, killed his friend Renee Hartvelt and ate her remains, yet he's free to walk the streets today. So we'll have some photos coming up here of him as well. He is an interesting looking dude.
He is.
This occurred in 1990 in the 90s, right? I guess it was actually before that. It was in the 80s that it happened. The photos you're going to see are from the 90s.
Okay.
So when Issei murdered and dismembered and devoured Renee Hartvelt in 1981, he was fulfilling a dream 32 years in the making. I've never had a dream that's
I was going to say that's
like
a
want,
weird
wish,
desire
anything. Right. This guy's
to eat someone.
a weirdo. Sagawa, who was born in Kobe, Japan, was studying comparative literature in Paris at the time of his crime.
Explains it.
He was almost immediately arrested and sentenced to a psychiatric hospital. But after his extradition to Japan, he was able to check himself out of a different psychiatric hospital due to a legal loophole and remains free to this day. So this story, real quick, comes from allthat'sinteresting.com. So you can go find it out there if you want. And it's also going to be linked in the notes. In the years since, he has effectively made a living off of his crime, and he's even become something of a minor celebrity in Japan. He has appeared on numerous talk shows and written manga novels. Do you know what manga novels are?
It's
Those
Japanese animation.
Japanimation kind of things.
Yeah.
He has appeared on numerous talk shows. Oh, I already said that. And numerous I can't speak.
Try it again.
Numerous talk shows and written manga novels that graphically depict killing and eating Hartvelt. That's even weirder.
Wow.
He has even starred in softcore porn reenactments where he bites actors. This dude is
And that they let
weird.
him is
Right.
kind of weird.
And throughout his life, he has been chillingly unrepentant. When he discusses his crimes, it's as if he believes it's the most natural thing in the world, and he plans to do it again. So keep in mind, this guy's still free and walking around.
So weird.
The lifetime of cannibalistic thoughts.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Issei was born in April 26, 1949. For as long as he can remember, he possessed cannibalistic urges and a fascination with eating human flesh. He remembered with fondness his uncle dressing up as a monster and luring him and his brother into a stewed pot for eating. I don't understand how this happens. He sought out fairy tales that involved humans being eaten, and his
There's
favorite
fairy tales
was
like that?
Hansel and Gretel.
They ate the house. I guess she was
No,
fattening
she
them
was-
up to eat them.
Yeah,
True.
exactly, right? He even recalls noticing classmates' thighs in first grade and thinking, that looks delicious. He blames the media's representation of Western women like Grace Kelly for sparking his cannibalistic fantasies, equating it with what most people would call sexual desire. Where other people dreamed of bedding these beautiful women, Sagawa dreamed of eating them. Sagawa says the reasons behind his cannibalistic tendencies can't be explained or conceptualized by anyone who doesn't share his exact urges. I think that's an interesting thing, right?
Nobody can understand.
Like, no, I can't explain that.
Yeah.
I can't understand that.
You can't explain, and I can't understand the urge to eat somebody's thigh.
Okay, so you had that one plane that went down, like they made the movies about. Okay,
The soccer
that
team.
is worst case scenario.
Right.
We've talked about that. Like, what part do you eat if you have to? Probably the thigh, the rump, something like that. But
The
not-
meatier parts.
yeah.
But I'm not dreaming of doing it.
Yeah,
just
no. It's simply a fetish, he said. For example, if a normal man fancied a girl, he'd naturally feel desire to see her as often as possible, to be close to her, to smell her, and to kiss her, right? To me, eating is just an extension of that. Frankly, I can't fathom why everyone doesn't feel the urge to eat to consume other people.
Why doesn't he just eat a cow?
No, it's not the same.
Okay.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know.
psychologically.
He maintains,
Impossible.
however, that he never thought of killing them, only gnawing on their flesh. You don't want to kill him; he just wants to like chew an arm. He was always short and skinny with legs that looked like pencils, he wrote in his best-selling book, In the Fog, and he believed that at just under 5 feet tall, he was too repulsive to attract the kind of physical intimacy that would have tempered his desires.
Okay.
So he's got a little Napoleon complex. Although Sagawa did once attempt to see a psychiatrist for his urges at the age of 15, he found it unhelpful and retreated further into his isolated psyche. Then in 1981, after repressing his desires for 32 years, he finally acted on them. Sagawa had moved to Paris to study literature at Sorbonne, a public research university. Once there, he said his cannibalistic urges took over.
Okay.
Almost every night, I would bring a prostitute home and then try to shoot them from behind. He wrote in The
What?
Fog. It became less about wanting to eat them, but more about an obsession with the idea that I simply had to carry out this ritual, quote unquote, of killing a girl no matter what. Eventually, he found the perfect victim. Sagawa kills and eats Renee Hartvelt in Paris. And there's going to be a picture of... And so, again, this is going to be pretty graphic. So there's a picture of some plates with different
Body meat?
meats on there, if you will. Kind of a charcuterie table, if you will. Right. Renee Hartvelt was a Dutch student studying with Sagawa at the Sorbonne. Over time, Sagawa struck up a friendship with her, occasionally inviting her to his home for dinner. At some points, he gained her trust. He attempted to kill her once unsuccessfully before actually murdering her.
Wait. So he tried to kill her once, and she went back for more?
We're going to get into it.
Maybe she didn't know he tried to kill her?
He attempted to kill her once, like I said. The first time was the gun misfired when her back was turned. Though most would take this as a sign to give up, it only pushed Sagawa further down his rabbit hole. It made me even more hysterical, and I knew it that I simply had to kill her, he said. The very next night, he did. This time, the gun fired, and Hartvelt was killed instantly. Sagawa only felt a moment of remorse before he became elated. I thought about calling an ambulance, he recalled. But then I thought, hang on, don't be stupid. You've been dreaming about this for 32 years, and now it's actually happening. Immediately after killing her, of course, he raped her corpse and began cutting her open.
Wow, this guy is sick.
This guy walks around Japan. This guy's
He's
alive.
in his 80s now, right?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I mean, I feel like maybe the older they get, the little...
This dude's a creep.
I mean,
The moment the first thing I did was cut into her buttock. No matter how deep I cut, all I saw was fat beneath the skin. It looked like corn. And it took a while to actually reach the red meat, Sagawa recalled. The moment I saw the meat, I tore off a chunk with my fingers and threw it in my mouth. It was truly a historical moment. This dude is.
I was
walking
wondering if he
around
cooked
Japan.
her or if he ate her raw.
Ultimately, he said his only regret was that he hadn't eaten her while she was alive. I mean, this is not funny, but how else do you react to that? Right?
It's morbid. You kind of have to laugh at it.
Right.
Like,
what I truly wished was to eat her living flesh, he said. Nobody believes me, but my ultimate intention was to eat her, not necessarily kill her. 2 days after killing Hartvelt, Sagawa disposed of what remained of her body. He had eaten or frozen most of her pelvic region. So he put her legs, torso, and head into two suitcases and hailed a cab. The taxi dropped him off at the Bois de Boulogne Park, which had a secluded lake inside of it. He had planned to drop the suitcases in it, but several people noticed the suitcases dripping blood and notified the French police. Issei Sagawa offers a straightforward confession for his crime. When police found Sagawa and questioned him, his response was simple admission. I killed her to eat her flesh, he said. Sagawa awaited his trial for 2 years in a French prison. When it was finally time for him to be tried, French judge Jean-Louis Bourget declared him legally insane and unfit to stand trial, dropping the charges and ordering him to be held indefinitely in a mental institution. They then deported him back to Japan, where he was supposed to spend the rest of his days in a Japanese mental hospital, but he didn't. Because the charges in France had been dropped, the court documents were sealed and couldn't be released to Japanese authorities.
so they didn't, yeah.
Therefore, the Japanese had no case against Sagawa and no choice but to let him walk free.
Interesting.
On August 12th, my birthday, 1986, 10 years after my birthday,
You were 10.
Sagawa checked himself out of Matsuzawa Psychiatric Hospital in Tokyo. He's been free ever since.
That's crazy.
Right? So today, Sagawa walks the streets of Tokyo where he lives, free to do as he pleases, a terrifying thought when no one hears that the threat of life in prison hasn't done much to quell his urges. He still says, the desire to eat people becomes so intense around June when women start wearing less and showing more skin, he said. Just today, I saw a girl with a really nice derriere on my way to the train station. When I see things like that, I think about wanting to eat someone again before I die. What I'm saying is, I can't bear the thought of leaving this life without ever tasting that derriere that I saw this morning, or her thighs. He continued. I want to eat them again and while I'm alive, so that I can at least be satisfied when I die. He's even planned out how he'll do it. I think either sukiyaki or shabu shabu, lightly boiled thin slices, is the best way to go in order to really savor the natural flavor of the meat. This guy is, I'm sorry, he is effed up beyond.
Yeah, he's a little messed up.
Yeah. In the meantime, however, Sagawa has refrained from cannibalism, thankfully. But that hasn't stopped him from capitalizing on his crime. He wrote restaurant reviews for Japanese magazine Spa and enjoyed success on a lecture circuit talking about his urges and crime. And to date, he has published 20 books. His most recent book is called Extremely Intimate Fantasies of Beautiful Girls. And it's filled with pictures drawn by himself as well as by famous artists. I hope people who read it will at least stop thinking of me as a monster, he said. I don't think there's any way.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to justify anything.
Sagawa
then
allegedly suffers from diabetes and stuff. I mean, he should just die. Like, lightning should strike this guy.
No, there's a place for him. Don't worry.
Yeah. So he suffers from diabetes and suffered 2 heart attacks in 2015. He's now 72. Lives with his brother in Tokyo. If I was his brother,
Yeah, you can. Well,
I'd be like, he died in an accident, or in a shovel accident. Accidentally hit him in the back of the head with a shovel because he ate his friend. And continues to garner media attention. And in 2018, French filmmakers recorded the two talking Sagawa brothers asks him, as your brother, would you eat me? His only response, Sagawa gives him an empty stare in silence. So yes, he would eat his brother.
Wonder if he locks his door when he goes to bed.
What Come on.
So, because that was one of my questions. Was that the end of your article?
That's the end of it, yeah.
I did have some
End
questions.
of the
I'm
story.
like, so misfire means like his gun jammed, right?
Yeah, or a bad primer, something went off.
But did she
Something
not
didn't work.
hear anything where she would turned around and was like, dude, you just tried to shoot me?
If
Why
I
did
heard a
she-
click right behind my head, I would probably.
And that she came back the next night. So this is he's only done this once that we know of then.
He's only eaten one person that we're aware of.
Okay.
But
And
he admitted to
women, I mean, he doesn't talk about
He's
men, but he definitely dreams of
So at the
women's
end of the article,
derrieres,
this is
per
something
the
I
article.
mentioned earlier. It says, like, this is the, you know how they note to, like, the author.
Mm-hmm.
It says, for more cannibalism, check out the story of Jeffrey Dahmer's America's most notorious cannibal. Like, I mean, I don't think that's somebody. Are you Googling these things? I fell down a rabbit hole with this when I found this story, right?
So
But
like
no,
he has this because it was
like
it was weird when you said he raped her after she was dead. I was like, okay,
that's necrophilia,
yeah,
right?
but that's a next level jacked up. Like this man is, and it's weird that Japan's just letting him walk around and making money off
They
this.
sealed his court record.
I'm
in
pretty
France.
sure you could probably have them unseal it.
I don't know, but they sealed it in France.
But they're letting him make money. It's like he's openly
He hasn't
talking
been
about
found
this
guilty
stuff.
of anything, though.
And he's writing books and he's on talk shows and I'm like, what is Japan's
probably
a weird
richer
place
than
though.
you
Yeah,
and me.
But Japan is a weird place like
He's written
that.
20 books.
They're kind of weird about
He
certain
writes
things.
manga. I'm like, what kind of manga?
Is manga? Is that Japanese porn? Animation porn?
I think so.
You know?
I don't know.
Let's Google
We
that.
don't need to get into that on
No,
this
I'm just
show.
wondering if like
We'll talk
that's
about
what
that
he
later.
does.
I think it is, yeah. But we'll get into that later. So that's my story.
It's crazy.
It's a weird one. So again, thank you so much for checking out the bar. I almost said the bar was open. Wrong. That's where you can go out
Wrong
and
show.
actually check out the audio versions of it on the
Yes.
Bar Zone with Beth and Greg. But thank you so much for checking out the Castro
Yes.
Files. Quick one tonight on a little cannibal.
That's weird.
He needs to probably
He's creepy.
something else.
What year is this article from?
That was. Let me see real quick. Give me 1 second.
And I did look at manga. Manga's just
I think it's just Japan.
comic books and graphic novels.
Yeah, give me 1 second. So this was from 21. So
Okay.
August 17th.
So he's,
of 21.
like,
Absolutely.
Only almost like 73, 74 max.
Right. So
Creep.
cheers, everybody. Thank
Bye,
you again
guys.
so much.
Thank
like,
you.
subscribe to the channel if you don't mind.
Yes.
And thank you, Peter, for producing all of this good stuff.
Thanks, Petey.
Cheers. Have a great night.
Bye.